Yes, people. How we doing? Big up to everybody that's here. Welcome back to 12th Man. I got another Guna to Guna, man. It's myself and Deluded back again. What you telling me, fam? You good?
I'm there, my guy, man. I've had a mess getting my computer and everything reloaded, man. Sorry for being late, but we're here, man. Appreciate you for having me, bro.
Come on, man. Every time it's minor. Good to see you, bro. I'm glad you're all good. And football is back, DG. International break is over. Fulham was the game that we're going to touch on. Everton is the game tomorrow we're going to touch on. We're going to talk a little bit about transfer news as well, because Arsenal are getting very, very busy in the transfer market somehow. I didn't know the transfer window was open, bro.
I don't see no one holding shirts yet, Dan, man.
We're linked with everyone, bro. It's the appointment of Andrea Berta. I'm sure everyone's getting excited by it, bro. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to mention the fact that De Bruyne is leaving Manchester City. What does that mean for them? Is this going to be one of the biggest transfer windows we've seen in a long time this summer for a number of teams? I think there could be. There's a few teams suggesting they may be rebuilding. So we're going to touch on that as well. Before we do that, make sure you do me a favor, people. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit subscribe. We're on the way to the big 4-0. And make sure you're following
with it.
Oh, man. Deluded is in the title, so make sure you click on his channel as well and show some love over there. And also make sure that you show some love to Football Prizes, who are sponsoring us this month. They are at the moment with a mega opportunity to win some Arsenal memorabilia. So please make sure that you're in with a shout for this one. The ticket price is only 39 pence. Make sure you're in it to win it. There's shirts such as the current crop of players. We've got Trossard, we've got Zinchenko, we've got Havertz, we've got Saliba, we've got Martinelli, and we've got Declan Rice, all signed shirts. We've also got the 1989, I should say, cluster on the top left. A Cesc Fabregas signed custom LED shirt display as well. And there's some invincible prizes as well if you go down. Patrick Vieira, Robert Pires, and then the Thierry Henry and Dennis Bergkamp one that I've got, can't lie, I really, really kind of want that one. So that's the one I think I'll be trying to get. So please make sure that you're in for this one and show them some love. They've been really good to us, so let's make sure we show them some love and be good to them. Let's come to yourself, DG. There's a lot to talk about, my bro, if I'm honest. There's not normally, because we normally sit there in the internationals and we're like, wow, what can we talk about? Maybe Lewis-Skelly's performance and what we're hoping to see back from Bukayo Saka. But I suppose what we'll do is we'll touch on the Fulham game, because it does segue nicely into our next Premier League fixture. Talk to me about the positives and the negatives of that game from your point of view, bro.
Negatives? I guess it's just we're at where we're at. We know the injury. Well, we know the injuries that happened in the game. Obviously, Timber went down and then he continued and then he's obviously gone out. And I'm sure Mikel Arteta will shed some light or not shed some light, depending on how evasive he wants to be in the press conference. We all know, if there is an elephant in the room, Gabriel Magalhaes. We all know the drop off of, just simply put, like just fulfilling our fixtures, trying to build some momentum going to Real Madrid, trying to win for winning's sake and whatnot. I would say positives. I think it was, Fulham of the last few years, you kind of were a bit nervous as Arsenal fans, and it wasn't kind of that. I don't feel it was a game to really scream and shout about from a tactical front. We know Fulham do the low blocks thing. We know what we do, and we're just fulfilling the fixtures. Like I said, in terms of positives, I think I'm happy to see Mikel Merino score, and obviously his involvement in what led to Martinelli's flick for Saka scoring. I think that's his best game he's had in an Arsenal shirt, if I'm honest with you. Obviously, Saka in it, like me and you have spoken about the potential concerns when he comes back and whatnot. He looked electric. It's lovely to see him score. And, again, being at the Emirates, that was probably the best moment for Bukayo Saka, really. Like, you could see what it meant to him to score. Obviously, he's been through madness in his rehab and whatnot. I don't think, I don't know what was the louder roar. When his name was announced with the team at the beginning of the game, when he was warming up, when he obviously came off the bench, or when he scored, especially at the start of the game when his name was simply announced. I think there'll be players that will score for Arsenal at other stadiums and it won't get a roar like that. So I'd say Saka's a positive. Obviously, Martinelli, it's one game and it's against Fulham and we're just, trying to fulfill fixtures. But in the same time, if Martinelli had a shaky game, we'd have a lot to say, which has been the case for over a year now. So I think he did well. And I think that's about it. A negative, maybe I'm nitpicking, but I do feel, while it was one-way traffic and we kind of dominated against Fulham, they did have a couple of half chances in the second half. Munoz scored, but he missed a sitter. And I would say Lewis-Skelly had a good game, but he looked shattered towards the end. And I wanted Mikel Arteta to just bring on Tini, just see that out and keep a clean sheet. And it's not the same, but I kind of felt being at the game, like that particular moment I'm referring to, I kind of felt like, do you remember a few years ago, Zinchenko at Anfield, where he did okay until it was time to see out the game? Arteta only took him off when the damage was done. So I think those are the little things in relation to Fulham, but it's nice to get 3 points. We're probably going to finish in the top 4 positions or 5, which gets Champions League, but let's just solidify second and just keep it moving, man. So yeah, that's what I'd say with Fulham, Dan, man.
Well, there was a lot to take in the second half for me positively. I think Martinelli's performance, Julian Timber's performance, Thomas Partey's performance, if I'm honest with you. And then, of course, the introduction of Bukayo Saka, as you mentioned so eloquently. I thought he was absolute delight, and it's a dream to see him back on the pitch. I know a lot of people were kind of concerned and had worries or issues about how long he'd play, but I think Arteta got it right, if I'm honest with you. It seems now that he's trusted the fitness coaching staff to say that he's fit enough to play X amount of minutes, and I think that we'll probably see the same against Everton, and I'll get your opinions on that in a minute. But I think for me, the biggest negative, of course, was the injury knocks now, and we go into the next couple of games having no idea what we've got at the back, bruv. Let's just touch on Gabriel individually first before we move on to the other players. I've got to say it, bruv. I think that's as big a blow as Saka going out, man. I'm really, really devastated by this one, DG.
You said it there, Dan, man. You know, obviously Saka and Gabriel Magalhaes, they're both vital to our team. They make our team tick. They both need new contracts. You know, Gabriel Magalhaes is on 100 grand, and there's players that are not as important on a lot more than him, and he needs to sign a new deal. And it's unfortunate because he probably is the outstanding contender / one of the top 3 to 5 contenders for Arsenal player this season. And, you know, maybe not so much of recent, but he does his job defensively, and he also pops in with goals. And again, you know, I'm sure we'll talk about Real Madrid, but beyond the obvious, if you're these players, these are the games you want to play, in particular the one at the Bernabeu, because you've been through the mud, and we're still in the mud, but to a degree, but it's almost a richer mud. You always want him to be there. Where I look at Gabriel Magalhaes, beyond the obvious with his injury and us feeling a lot weaker going into Everton or Real Madrid, he's a leader. Like, I'm not saying Saliba isn't a leader, but Gabriel Magalhaes is like the big brother to Saliba. To go there with Kivior and Miles Lewis-Skelly on the left-hand side, I mean, no disrespect to definitely Lewis-Skelly because he's great, but it's a big arcs, and you've played football. You understand throughout 90 minutes, you have to kind of coach each other through games, and I don't know who is going to be the leader. I don't know what our defense is going to look like. I don't know if Partey is going to play right back. There's some shouts for Declan Rice. I don't know where White and Timber are at. I'm sure Mikel Arteta will speak on it, but Gabriel Magalhaes is a massive blow, and I was having this debate on WhatsApp. Obviously, you would want Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Magalhaes both playing against Real Madrid. Saka's a match winner. He's inevitable. Magalhaes is great. But then you could argue that we could cope more with Saka's absence than Gabriel Magalhaes, because we all know going against Real Madrid, defense is going to be key. And even before the Magalhaes hamstring injury, a lot of us were saying, or some Arsenal fans were saying, do you know what? Maybe if we could shut up shop defensively, that is a part of our game that's been good. Can we, keep a clean sheet and whatnot? I'm not sure how we do that without Gabriel Magalhaes, but we did something similar in 2006. I know it's not the same, and that's really copium, Dan, but yeah, it's mad, man. Kivior's going to have a chance of a lifetime now, isn't it?
Seems that way, man. You're right. Philippe Senderos did it. Can Jacob Kivior do it? Who I think is probably going to be the guy that they trust. But looking at things towards the next couple of games, bro, we do have these injuries, and if I'm honest with him, some of them aren't a massive shock. I mean, let's be real. Tomiyasu hasn't kicked a ball all season. Gabriel Jesus has felt like he's been out forever. Kai Havertz, we know, is now out for the season. Calafiori is definitely out for the next couple of games, we believe. I don't know how long it is, but they're saying it's weeks. So the injury got internationally. Another one who's been injury prone this season. We've just spoken on Gabriel. Ben White and Julian Timber are huge question marks for the next couple of games. Some are suggesting Timber might be okay and it's just a knock. Others are suggesting that Ben White was a niggle. I hope that they're right with those two, man. Let's assume that these are all out of the next game. Let's not look towards Real Madrid yet, right? Let's assume they've all got to miss the Everton game. What the hell do we do at the back, bruv?
I mean, this is where Arteta's paid 15 million a year, innit? I'm happy I'm not him. As you said there, what the hell do we do at the back? I think Arteta will probably play Zinchenko, because I think he'll play Kivior and Zinchenko because they kind of mimic, like, they're the easiest changes to make and still kind of play the same way. Me personally, if you said it, assume everyone's not available. So I'll go Tini left back, Kivior and Saliba. Obviously, Raya right back is going to have to be Thomas Partey, innit? There's no random young player we could throw in there. It's going to have to be Thomas Partey right back. And obviously, that's a knock-on effect in midfield. I mean, Christian said it in the comments. You could throw Nichols in there. I don't think he's going to do that Everton away. I mean, Everton away is not the game we're all looking to. eyes and ears on Real Madrid, but that's a difficult test, man. They're unbeaten in the last 8-9 games. Well, they had their first defeat in the last 8-9 games. Very unlucky against Liverpool. Moyes has turned it around, and me and you both know mid Saturday midday what to expect. It's one of those games where the fans are gonna live and breathe every kick. We're gonna have a shift defensively. So yeah, it's a madness, man. But yeah, to answer your question, I think Lewis-Skelly, we got to be a bit cute and clever. He looked a bit leggy. I would actually put Tierney, Kivior, Saliba. You're just gonna have to get us through that, and it's gonna have to be Partey right back, unless he does something left field like Tierney goes right back. Because I remember against PSG, he did put Calafiori at a point in the game right back. Obviously, Calafiori's not there, but Arteta's got to be considering that. But it's makeshift at best, bro. It's makeshift at best.
Bro, my question to you was going to be, do we play Tierney and Lewis-Skelly as the fullbacks? There's a serious question mark there.
That as well.
I mean, look, I think Partey's going to go right back. I don't really care about this Everton game. A lot of people have said to me, we've got to win it. We've got to keep I want to win it for momentum, but I'm not absolutely adamant using the absolute full strength side to make sure we get 3 points, because I want the Real Madrid game over this Everton game. So it wouldn't really bother me who lines up as long as we are ensuring that people are fit for that Real Madrid game. So personally, I don't want to see Timber and White, even if they are fit, because I'd rather them be fit for the Tuesday night as I would for Saturday. I don't want to slog them and then they go and get a knock again and then they're out of the Real Madrid game. Thomas Partey at right back is an absolute disaster against Real Madrid. That cannot happen, bro.
Him against Vinicius, madness.
Imagine that. Vinny Jr. against Partey. It'll be about
all the best Partey, man, but damn.
Do you know what I'm saying? So I think, look, we'll do it against Everton. I don't think Everton are that sort of team. They're going to come and sit in a low block. David Moyes is going to try and outsmart Mikel again. It's going to be a difficult game. I actually think we'll drop points, and I do believe it will probably be a draw, right? Or if we win, it will be a 1-0. For me, when I look at the scenario at the back now, Saliba, unfortunately, as much as people want to rest him, we can't. We've literally got nobody else at the back at centre-back. Kivior will play because he has to. Left-back's a question mark because we've got about 4 of them. Zinchenko, Miles Lewis-Skelly, Kieran Tierney. Obviously, the right back, we haven't got many, but there is an option that Timber could play because obviously he's back from his knock. But I would be really pissed off if that happens. So I think I'll probably go with Partey and bring Jorginho into midfield with Rice, bruv, if I'm honest with you. What are you saying?
I mean, let's needs must, innit? We ain't got the biggest squad. We've got to do that. I'd imagine. I actually think White will be there against Everton. How many minutes he gets, I don't know. You know, for me, I'd like to see him get, if any, 20, 30, just get some minutes in the legs. Maybe Timber the same. It's you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, man. And it goes. I was watching your stream yesterday, actually, when you had all the guys there, and it big up DJB. I think he said what all of us fans feel in that. You just can't help but look back to the summer. I know you can't always look in the past, but you just can't help but look in the summer where we didn't probably bring in enough level raises to our starting 11. We didn't improve on our depth. We did get some good sales, but we didn't replace the bodies. And we known for the last couple of years, we want to be a team that's competing in 4 trophies. And Mikel Arteta keeps saying we've got a squad of 19. When you look through that 19, who would you really say is durable? Fair enough, Partey, it's been a unicorn of a season. He hasn't really been injured and he's been quite good. But you probably would sit there in August and think Partey's picking up knocks, Zinchenko's picking up knocks, Gabriel Jesus is picking up knocks. You're not going to see too much of Tomiyasu. I love Tierney, but him as well. So we really need, it's one where I want Berta and Mikel Arteta and all of these guys to really, really have a moment of reflection going into next season, because I'm getting kind of tired of moaning about the same things. And I'm sure all the fans are, because at some point, how far does it go? Is it unlock or is it incompetence as a football club? If me and you as armchair experts and people in the chat are saying this, then what are they doing? Because they know about football more than us. And I have no doubt that they've tried and this and that. But there's also the other side. Did you do it or not? And we didn't. How many times are we going to see this? We've got so many things we could learn from. We've seen what one injury could do for us with Saliba in 2022-23. We've seen, obviously, Rodri and the absence of City. We've seen, I can't remember the year, but I'm sure Liverpool had massive injuries and they kind of fell off a cliff. And obviously, Mikel Arteta has seen it himself at Arsenal and he's seen it himself in his previous job at City. I know there's not just one single person to blame, but we really need to stop having these things crippling our season, because it's another year, Daniel. For me, I just think we've shot ourselves in the foot. Credit to Liverpool, credit to City the other years, but I just feel we haven't really controlled the controllables as a club, man. And it's another year of explaining, unfortunately, man.
It is, bro. And Mikel Arteta is doing his best to try and explain. I wanted to ask you on his comments here, because he's obviously been speaking about the injuries at the club. And a lot of people are giving him the kind of blame and saying it's all on Mikel, etc., etc. He says that on the injuries, it's been like this the whole season. Martinelli's missed 3 months. Saka has missed 4 months. Havertz has missed 4 months. Jesus has missed almost the whole season. how we've managed to be where we are with all those injuries is crazy. He said that more than once now, to be honest, and I think that was a quote that he made. I expect him to make one similar when he does his press conference soon. I will say this: I actually do believe Arteta has to take a little bit of an L here. There's no way you can have in your squad 3 players with hamstring injuries with the muscle off the bone. That to me means they're either overworked, overplayed, or a little bit of both. The high intensity training that we're told of and that we don't know about, people say it happens. I don't know that that is the case, but certainly if it is the case, then it wouldn't help the scenario. Do you put a little bit of blame on Mikel, or do you think that it's a little bit of bad luck? Do you think the injuries have been kind of coincidence to any of our sort of training methods, or do you question any of that, or do you just think it's been solely bad luck this season that Arsenal have had this amount of injuries long term?
I think it's Arteta. I think it's the medical staff. I think it goes back to the recruitment front where everybody has to play a part. I don't think there's one single aspect you can blame. I just think it's if it was a cocktail, it's different ingredients really. Like again, like you said there, the 3 hamstring injuries. Now I have no doubt Arsenal obviously don't want people to get injured, doing the best in terms of rehab, etc., etc. But the 3 hamstring tears, to us, not normal fans, we've been saying about this for a number of years. There's no coincidence. Kai Havertz, Martinelli, Bukayo Saka, and actually Gabriel Magalhaes, like these lot have played a lot of football. They've quote unquote been ran into the ground. And it sounds mad to say, and I don't want anyone to misquote me, but it feels like we're kind of a lot of the players that have been injured, we've kind of been owed this because we've spoken, even with Ben White, we've heard this before kind of thing. Even with Timber, the amount of football he has played coming back from an ACL, credit to Timber and needs must. But I'm sure if you were to ask Timber, Mikel Arteta, and the coach and the medical staff, they would say he's probably played too much football. The training thing is a double-edged sword because I am of the belief of you train the way you need to play. Of course, you got to be a bit cute and clever. And to be fair to Mikel Arteta, he's also equally said because of the fixture calendar list, we haven't been able to train. And when you're not training, there's a risk of muscle injuries. But that's why for me it comes back to the depth. And I know Mikel Arteta keeps talking about the fact that we're still second with all of these injuries, and he is right in that regards. But then also, how far does that go? That we know we're a good team, we know we can we respond to adversity. But then there's the other thing, like we were told in May we're not resting on our laurels. Is the most exciting thing young players coming from the academy and we've been courageous and still finished second? I'm not too sure. I just think it's a bit of everything. No 2 seasons are alike, but again, last season we've missed 3 key players. Partey only really played towards the end of the running. Timber, God knows how much we would rate him even more if he was able to play. And again, Tomiyasu is there. So I don't think it's one singular point to blame. I think when you fail on the recruitment front for all of the club, and then you've got Mikel Arteta, who on one hand, I am not as aggressive on rotation as some fans. I think there has to be a correlation with playing the same team, getting them knowing each other's game and the system and all of that. And also this is the belly of the beast. But then at the same time, there is a wider conversation to be said about player welfare. You see it as well as me because we talk about football day in, day out. You're seeing the Champions League extended to the point where every game's kind of a must win, kind of what Kenny Ken says. You're seeing the club championship if we was in it in the summer. You're seeing many international breaks as well. This season's been mad, but think about the previous 2 years for a lot of these players as well. And I'll be honest, when Gabriel Magalhaes got injured, just naturally because of Martinelli's, Havertz's, Saka's, the more durable players, being at the game, the first thing I did, I don't know why, but I looked at William Saliba and I looked at Declan Rice because God forbid, but you're the next 2 I'm kind of thinking about. So it's a mixture of everything. And again, I'm no expert, but there's also been times where maybe this doesn't make sense, but there's been times where we've won games and maybe Saka or Magalhaes or whatever could have been subbed. You rest someone for 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there, 30, whatever have you, over a 5-10 game period. And before you know it, the makeup is they've missed 90. They've technically been saved for a 90-minute game. And it goes back to the recruitment, bro, in that there's too much of a drop-off. Like, there's been times where you would love to see a Benjamin White, a Gabriel Magalhaes, a Saliba rested, but then you're going from Gabriel Magalhaes to Kivior. Now, I'm not saying everybody needs to be at Gabriel's level, but clearly Mikel Arteta, he did buy Kivior, but clearly he doesn't trust everybody in this squad. So it's a mixture of things, Dan, man. It's a mixture of things. I don't think there's one singular point, but here we are, man.
I don't think there is one thing. However, I do think there's been a definite question mark over Mikel Arteta's playing time of some of these players 100%. And the lack of trust the squad. When Gabriel's playing in the 7-1 victory against PSV, and then he's playing in the next game, we were 7-1 up. When Saka's coming on against Bolton and Preston, and who else was it? Lons last season. I'm thinking, what are we doing this for, man? Like, we do not need to be playing these guys, man. So that's where I'm at. Suj, big up for the super chat. It says, big up Dan DG and the community. Hit the like and subscribe. Yeah, let's make sure we do that, please, people. Let's make sure we're following Deluded as well. And we're hitting
Appreciate
like
that.
and subscribe over here. We've only got 58 of you hit the like, and there's well over 300 of you here. So please make sure that you hit the like button, people, because you're forgetting to do it. And it means so much. Before we start, all the best, KDB. He will go down as one of the league's greatest. Respect. Yeah, we're going to come on to that in a minute, actually, about KDB and some of the players that could be leaving this summer and some of the rebuild that Arsenal will be linked with and kind of some of those players. But big up to KDB because he has been an unbelievable player.
Legend.
So absolutely, yeah, he is a Premier League legend without a doubt. I got sent this today by someone who we were discussing what was kind of looking towards Mikel Arteta's problems at playing or overplaying players, comparisons to Liverpool and to Manchester City. Apparently, people are saying Arteta's running his players into the ground. This guy thinks it's typical, nonsensical, non-data-backed bullshit you hear on this app. 80% of Arsenal, City and Liverpool minutes are distributed between 12 to 13 players. The game distribution is almost exactly the same between the three clubs, but people are blaming Arteta. If you look at Manchester City here, they've got Vardiol, Haaland, Bernardo Silva, Rico Lewis, Foden, Gundogan, Savio, Kanji, Diaz, Kovacic, Nunez, De Bruyne, and Doku that have all played the most amount of minutes, and a similarity to Arsenal. There's no difference between what Arsenal were doing to Manchester City, according to this tweet. Saliba, Gabriel, Rice, Timber, Partey, Havertz, Trossard, Martinelli, and Ødegaard have all played the most minutes. Ødegaard towards the back of that list, Saka towards the back of that list, and obviously Ben White towards the back of that list. What it doesn't do, however, and to give some kind of narrative to this and some more context, this is just this season. So it does not come into play the previous 2 or 3 seasons. Now, some of those Manchester City players have not been slogged like Bukayo Saka has in the last 2 or 3 seasons. That's just fact.
Saka's
Likewise,
going to play less as well because he's been injured for 3 months.
Precisely. And this is what I mean. Like, this is all well and good for this season. You can make a claim that Liverpool are in the same position. Look, Van Dijk has played every minute. So has Salah. So has Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai, Robertson, Diaz. There's a few, right? Then it goes from Trent to Konaté downwards to who's missed the games or who's not played as much. If you look at what that's done with Arsenal, the players that have not played as much are obviously the players that he does not trust. Now, Tomiyasu's been injured. Yeah. Cabia's a kid. Heaven's now gone. Maldini's now been put on loan. Jack Porter's a 4th choice keeper. And Nichols has obviously got, with Jack, those games in the Carabao Cup. You've then got Kieran Tierney and Zinchenko and Sterling who aren't wanted or trusted. Ben White, who's been injured. Kivior, who's not trusted. Wanieri, who's a kiddie we should have trusted earlier than now. Jesus, who's crocked. Jorginho, he doesn't seem to trust for other than a couple of minutes here and there. Calafiori, who's been injury prone. Lewis-Skelly, who's now trusted. Saka, who's been injured. Marino, who's been injured, but he's now starting to use as more of a striker. You've got Ødegaard, who's dropped off but has been injured. Martinelli's just come back from a hammy. Trossard's in and out of the team every week. Havertz has now been overplayed and has now got a hamstring problem. Thomas Partey, funnily enough, who's actually our 4th most played player this season, who
Crazy, isn't it?
never thought we would have said that. Yeah. Timber, who's come back from ACL, as you've mentioned, how the hell is he still playing? Declan Rice and Saliba. Now, I said the next 3 to be crocked will be Timber, Rice, and Saliba if we're not careful. And that's not just on this season. That's on the last few seasons, yeah, because Timber has come back from an ACL and has played way too many. Yeah, so we need to be careful with him. But Rice and Saliba have been absolutely flogged and slogged, haven't they, in terms of how many minutes they're playing. So I don't look at this graph and think, yeah, Manchester City and Liverpool are doing the same thing, because I have a look at the minutes that they've played across the squad depth that they've had, Manchester City and Liverpool. It ain't the squad depth of Arsenal. So Mikel Arteta might be doing similarly in terms of his first 12 to 13 players, but the squad players of Manchester City and Liverpool have been able to come in and do a lot better, i.e. Quansah instead of Kivior, or Joe Gomez instead of having to play Partey at right back, yeah? Or you've got the likes of Gakpo, who's coming in, of Darwin Nunez, who's coming in, of Harvey Elliott that's coming in. These are the players that are coming into us. We're linked with Sterling sitting on the bench, not trusted. Before that, the season, it was Nelson and Vieira who weren't trusted. Yeah, the only real 2 players I can say that he's used squad-wise has been Eddie Nketiah and Jorginho in the last few years, like consistently, and maybe Trossard. Other than that, they've got a lot more in terms of their squad rotation. So I think as much as that graph is probably true for this season, it doesn't look at the last 3 years of where Ben White has been absolutely slogged and has now been
Doesn't lie, but doesn't paint the whole picture really and truly.
That's
Like
my point.
everybody's got to take some accountability. That almost absolves Mikel Arteta of everything. Cool. We can talk about we could even talk about maybe the players are doing something differently in terms of rehab. There probably is an element of bad luck. Obviously, it comes back to the recruitment in which Mikel Arteta plays a major hand, but at the end of the day, he doesn't sign off at the checkbook. So he has to take, so there's that as well. But then there's also the element of what Dan is referring to in that there's Liverpool have a small squad like us, but Arne Slot is going to trust those players a bit more, or maybe they've done something in terms of rehab a bit better. City the same, even though they've been dealt a harsh hand. That stat is being, it doesn't lie, but it doesn't tell the truth. Dan, it's not being fair, is it? Really and truly, like no 2 seasons are alike, but the last 3 years we have had injuries. And again, I do think Mikel Arteta knows this because he said, rightly or wrongly, the best players for club and country are going to play 70 odd. Kevin De Bruyne is obviously leaving City. We'll get onto him, but he's played a hell of a lot of football since he's been in the Prem. Salah isn't going to stop playing football anytime soon, and he's played the majority. It is going to happen. As I said earlier, there's a wider discussion to be said about player welfare and the amount of games for club and country, but we have to adapt. Even without that, if you were to ask this guy, do we have enough depth? No, we don't. If there was one area that we were kind of comfortable with the whole team, it would have probably been our defensive ranks, right? That's being stress tested really the whole season as well. We don't have enough depth. And regardless, Mikel Arteta says this about 3-4 times last year. He said we've got one of the smallest squads in the league. We've all watched the All or Nothing and we see the board where it's got the player depth and all of that. We're armchair experts. They defo know this. And I'm not saying they're not trying. But at the end of the day, there's trying and there's doing. And I am not at London Coley. I don't know what you tried to do. Maybe if me and Dan were flies on the wall, we'd have a bit of a different opinion. We can only look at what's happening. And this was coming at some point. We knew at some point. We've all, going back a few years ago, we've all watched that Rob Holding interview where he spoke about Benjamin White running his knee into the ground for the team and the hamstring and whatnot. We've been speaking about Bukayo Saka. We've been speaking about Odegaard. We've been speaking about Kai Havertz. We all even said that, again, we're armchair experts, but we all remember the Wolves game where we saw Kai Havertz. We're like, oh, what's going on there? And it was predictable. And the summer is one thing. January, bro, like it's all coulda, woulda, shoulda, and we're at where we're at now. But it's incredibly naive. Yeah, you can tell me you're keeping the powder dry and you're doing all of this sort of stuff, but at the end of the day, if that's what you're gonna do, you're gonna have to live or die by this. And I don't want to sound like a know-it-all, but how predictable was it? As soon as that January window closed, more man were gonna get injured. Like injuries can happen at any possible time. Had we have had the summer we needed in terms of quality and depth, and the same thing happened, of course we would need to look back at like maybe what we're doing in terms of rehab, etc., etc. Maybe there's something with the fact that these players were getting a bit of a rest in the Europa League in the last 2 years, including now. Every game kind of counts. But if we had the summer we needed to have done, I think many Arsenal fans would say, you know what, now we're unlucky. You've put your best foot forward. There has been depth. You have got more numbers. Things happen in it. But this is in spite of everything. It's crazy.
Bro, it is crazy. And I've got to be honest, it's something that worries me. And I look at the scenario of players that need to stay fit, and I would not argue that every single squad would say we need a fit squad. Arsenal needed a fit squad. Now, when we got to January, I thought, yeah, do you know what? Because we haven't got a fit squad, we're going to go strengthen. We were told nobody was available. Well, midweek, Marmoush scored. He was a January signing. Donny Marlon scored from Villa. So did Asensio. So did Rashford.
Desperate,
all brought in January, bro. And we were told there was no one available. Man, it's crazy. Big up to Bayanguna every single time. We've got 490.
He said he can't stand me. Hi, Bayanguna.
I'm out. Can't stand this guy. Oh, man. What? There's me thinking he's just
it's calm, man. It's calm. I love that, man. Like,
man, I get that.
Friday night, you're saying that on the screen, behind the PC. That's crazy. But yeah, big him up, man. We fight hate with love. He loves me really, man.
What I should do really is read the full comment before I put it up on the screen.
Calm, man. Opinions are opinions. It's minor. I was at the Emirates and like obviously Bukayo Saka came out. And someone was I don't even think there was an Arsenal fan. Everyone was showing Bukayo Saka love. And some people were screaming, Bukayo Saka in absolute ways, man. So it comes with the territory, man. Like
so weird, man. It's so weird, bro. I don't get it. But listen,
it's crazy, man. Big up the YouTube people, warriors.
Don't watch, man. If you don't like me, don't come on my channel. If you don't like me, then show me some love, man. That's the way I'm at. But listen, bro, it's I was gonna bring this comment up from Mr. Waffle. He said the last time we got a grade 3 hamstring injury was Lucas Podolski, which was back in like 2013. We've had 3 now in one season. That's mad, you know, bro.
It's
That's
cold. It
mad.
is that's madness. But it also shows how football's changed, though. It's clearly more PMP and athletic based and all of that kind of stuff. And it goes back to what we've been touching on: a small squad being run into the ground. I can't sit here and say it's predictable, but it is predictable. Like, we knew this was going to be the case. Like, the club had to have known that. You go back to the start of last season. Or even the year before that, we aspired to be a team that can compete in all comps. So we entered last year. We had to be thinking about we need a bigger squad. Whatever happened last year happened last year. Going into last summer, we had to still be having that thinking. And my biggest hope is just, I don't expect Berta to change everything because it's just one man and he's going to have a matter of months at the club in his first window. But him being at Atletico Madrid and doing what they're doing and kind of doing the underdog thing of pipping Barcelona and Real Madrid to a couple, league titles, he probably understands why you need strength in depth. And I hope he comes in and he really strength tests this. Like, there's a lot of players I've got a lot of time for, but at some point, and it's not easy to move them on, we have to consider that, yes, we have a 19-man squad, but who's really durable? Like, Dan, who do you really expect? And injuries happen, it's part and parcel, but who do you really sit there in this squad in August and think, yeah, for the majority of the season, I expect to see you? There's not that many, really. You expect to see Rice, you expect to see Saka, you expect to see Timber.
Last
Yes, he had
season,
an
bro, I
ACL.
would have said quite a few, but they've all got injured this season.
This is
Erdegaard
what
was
I'm
one.
saying.
Ben White was one. Havertz was one. Saka was one. Those four are now been injured. But Gabriel was another. He's now done. Saliba would be the next one. Timber, Rice. These are the next three I'm looking at now with a question mark going, are you going to get injured next season then? Because you ain't got injured yet. Is it your turn? Do you know what I'm saying?
And you're not going to have much of a rest either. And it's not going to change because we all know pre-season or holidays for footballers is a myth. You might get a couple of days off to chill with your family and relax, but they're all flying out their personal trainers because they all want to be fit, because you know that if you don't stick to your diet and your training methods and that, you're going to go into pre-season behind and you've already started on the back foot. And it's not going to stop going into actually not next season, but the season beyond that, because you've got the World Cup. You look at, I'm sure Chelsea and City are in the World Club Championship or something. Their footballers are going to play a hell of a amount of football across the summer, obviously going to the Premier League season. And then you've got a World Cup next year. So there's a wider discussion to be said about player welfare, but we can't change that alone. But what we can do is eradicate the lack of depth, like by signing some players.
Facts, bro. Look, before we come into that, because I do want to touch on Berta and some of the links, let's move towards Everton and Real Madrid, bruv. Obviously, we spoke about the defensive issues at Everton. Let's touch on that game first. What are you expecting tomorrow, man? It's going to be a tough game. It's a 12:30 kickoff. It's one that I look at and think always a tough place to go. And I think the way they're playing at the moment, to be fair to them, against Liverpool look good. David Moyes has got them playing. I think their form table is pretty good since he's arrived. So what are you expecting tomorrow, bro?
I'm expecting us going into the Lions then, Everton away, Goodison Park, as you said, it's not an easy day at the office. I expect it to be physical. I mean, I never really see I can't remember the Ukrainian lad's name, the left back. I can't remember his name for the life of me. Yeah, he seems to always, I just think he exists. I don't even think he's a real person. I just think I only ever see him when he's playing against Bukayo Saka, which is a problem in itself if that is the case. But I'm expecting it to be physical. I'm expecting them to be confident. I'm expecting them, to be a very street smart side. I'm expecting it to be a day where, whether it's Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Beto or whatever, they're going to physically try and test both Saliba and Kivior. So it's going to be a tough day, man. As much as I quote unquote feel it's a nothing game and we ain't got much to play for, I do want to win. I do want to do the building momentum thing. I don't think it's going to be easy because of the changes that we probably have to make, whether Arteta does or doesn't. I think you articulated it very well. I'm starting to think we might drop points tomorrow, man, if I'm honest.
Yeah, if I'm honest with you, bro, I can't lie. It's
hope I'm wrong, man.
Frustrating. One thing there will be apparently is on 9 minutes a tribute to Super Kev, which I'll be looking forward to, man. So yeah, we'll definitely be up for that one. That's for sure. Look, I've always had a little bit of a soft spot for Everton since getting to know Kev, because obviously he was a massive place in their hearts, and I think they've been really good since Moyes has come in. I think Moyes has definitely been
nasty team to play against.
Recognised as one of the most underrated managers, if I'm honest. Not that I would want him at Arsenal, but in terms of that sort of club, West Ham, Everton, I think
the longevity he's provided.
Bro, I think West Ham getting rid of him was never going to be grass greener, bro. I always knew they were going to go down when they got rid of him. And maybe some of the West Ham fans accepted that to then look to one day get back up there. But I think what Moyes did at West Ham can't be underappreciated. I think you look at what he's done in terms of winning them a trophy for the first time in 43 years. He's actually got them consistently playing European football for the both
he's a legend.
4 or 5 years. He's got to be. So for me, it's going to be tough, man. And
we seem to struggle against these men as well, man. I don't know. It's scary.
Don't have the best of luck against this low block situation, bro. That's what we don't have.
Exactly.
I mean, Fulham have tried to do it in the first half. We struggled, obviously. Once you do unlock it, sometimes the floodgates open and they have to come out. But
You have
you've
to
got to get
unlock
that
it.
early goal. You've got to get that goal. And I'll go 1-0 because I just want to remain positive and keep the momentum going and get a little bit of optimism in the house now that we've got the lights
Kivior
on.
to score, man.
Yeah, I need to see us defensively solid, and it's gonna be a tough one, man. But what are you going for with prediction for tomorrow, bro?
Nail biting 1-0 like yourself, man. Couple of hairy moments, couple heart in mouth moments. Have to absorb a lot of punches and box smartly. But I think we'll get out of there with a win, man. Come on, David Moyes. You owe Arteta this, man. How many points has he given you since he's become our manager? Like, we need this. I'm expecting it to be a big test, man. But we can't feel sorry for us. I'm more interested in what Arteta puts out in the 11 because he's kind of damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. I think he is going to go a lot stronger than I'd suggest, and people will criticize that. If he makes massive rotations, many people would understand it, but there's a lot of fans that will say, you know what, you've thrown the game away, blah, blah, blah. We're kind of just at where we're at, man. It'd be nice to see some more minutes for Saka. I don't know if he's going to start Saka because on one hand, I feel if you were going to risk a start from Bukayo, you're going to do that against Madrid. You know, he got half an hour, obviously, against Fulham. You'd imagine he gets half an hour or slightly more if he starts 60 minutes and then he's raring to go. But I don't know, man. It's gonna be a rocky one, man, away from home.
It is, bro. And after that rocky one, we've got a ridiculous one, and that is Tuesday night. I want to ask you straight, bro. 2 questions. How do you see this one going? And what would your starting 11 be? Because there's a lot of drama about this starting 11, particularly in the front three, and now, of course, at the back. So, what are you telling me, bro?
Boy, I hope, apart from the defensive mistakes and everything, I hope we kind of approach it like Bayern Munich at the Emirates last year. I want to see beyond everything. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to be negative. Real Madrid, we're not in the best run of form and all of that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, we give a good account of yourself, innit? Like, this is what we wanted to be. And if forget Arsenal for a sec, if you're a footballer, this is what you dreamed of doing, playing against the best. If you're a defender and you keep one of these attackers quiet, you're gonna be feeling yourself a lot more, and vice versa in the attacking third. You know, I just want us even within the conditions, can we just be good defensively? Can we not give much away? Can we be confident? Can we take our chances? You know, for me, if their attackers do something, let it be Vinicius has danced past the whole team, or Modric has scored a screamer from 30 yards. They're great players. They do that kind of stuff. So let it be that. Don't play the game, not the occasion kind of thing as much as we can, man, and give ourselves a fighting chance. Go into the lines then in the Bernabeu. In terms of starting 11, boy, Raya in goal. I was about to say Gabriel, but Raya in goal, Saliba, Kivior, Lewis-Skelly left back, Timber, I think you're going to be there, you know. Timber right back. Midfield, obviously, Thomas Partey, Odegaard, and Declan Rice. On the right, you know what, risk it with Saka. He looked a lot fresher than I thought, you know. And like, if there was a game, as I know, I've got concerns about injuries and maybe even myself getting too excited on 30 minutes against Fulham. But if we're gonna risk it now. And what shall be, shall be. So it's a bit harsh on Wanyeri because I would like him in the squad and to play off that right. He's doing well, but Saka on the right. Martinelli on the left, mainly because of the defensive shift we're going to have to put in, because Lewis-Skelly is going to have to defend a lot more. Martinelli's going to have to help him out. Kivior, respectfully, I don't want to see you exposed, and I need you to stand up to be counted. Up front's an interesting one, man, because I think we probably should go with Mikel Merino on one hand, but a part of me wants to go with Martinelli up front, put Trossard on the left, and just something to keep Carlo guessing, because, like, Carlo Ancelotti is clearly a well-respected coach, and I can't remember the time they played City, but they played City, and he said he looked at Mikel Arteta's system as a kind of blueprint. Now, if you're looking at us from a defensive point of view of how you can replicate that, you're obviously probably looking at where there's some potential weaknesses. So, yeah, and then even that with the Trossard thing, do you keep Trossard on the bench, kind of go back to his initial days like he's a super sub off the bench? It's going to be a game that, as much as it's about personnel, there's a lot of psychological factors and tactical kind of decisions we have to make. And also, Mikel Arteta is going to have his thinking cap on where substitutes are concerned, man.
Look, it's interesting to see what we do against Everton, first of all, and then we go
Exactly.
towards the Real Madrid game. So it's quite hard for us to predict our lineup for that, what we think it would be. We can obviously have preference of what we'd like it to be. But this news that's just come in might be something that kind of
Please be good news.
gives us more of an understanding of where Mikel Arteta might be at. Apparently, both Ben White and Jurriën Timber have a chance that they'll be fit to face Everton tomorrow. It's kind of what we hoped and what we expected, or kind of at the back of our mind expected. But if Ben White and Julian Timber are both fit to face Everton tomorrow, I don't kind of want them to, DG. I kind of want them to face Real Madrid because, hear me out, if they're both fit, I think they probably will play a part in both games. However, if they're both fit, I'd actually play them both against Real Madrid, because if we are going to have problems with, centre backs, I don't want to see Kivior up against Real Madrid, bruv. I just don't want to see Kivior playing there. So for me, you've got two options. You can either play Saliba there and play Ben White or Julian Timber alongside him, and the other one at right back. So you'll have, say, Ben White right back, Timber and Saliba, and then Miles Lewis-Skelly. Or you play Kieran Tierney at left-sided centre-back instead of Kivior. They're the two options you've got, man. What are you saying now that you know that Timber and White could be fit, if not to face Everton, then hopefully to face Real Madrid? Would you play them both?
They're going to have to get minutes against Everton. Maybe it's 90 minutes, maybe it's 10, especially for Ben White. Now, I actually think with Ben White, maybe he suffered a setback, I don't know, but I just feel they didn't want to risk him in the Fulham game. Like, clearly there's some sort of setback or he's not fully fit. You know what? Couple days going into the Everton game, let's see what's going on. I'd rather Ben White play, but then has Ben White got 90 minutes in him against Everton? Do you want him to get 90 minutes? And the maddest thing is, whether Kivior starts, whether Benjamin White starts, whether Timber starts, they're all going to have to play some part if fit against Everton and defo against Real Madrid, man. So I hear you. It's a difficult one because obviously ability, Kivior, respectfully, you're not talking to any of them. But do you want Kivior with 100% or like fully fit, or do you want an 80, 90 or whatever number you want to call it on Benjamin White? With that, a part of me, but then again, if you play Benjamin White centre half, you do have to put Partey right back, and then it's a case of that thing we tend to do as an Arsenal fan base, or a manager does, where one change we have to make, there starts to be a knock-on effect kind of thing. So, Dan, this is difficult, man. I think for Everton, I'd stick with Saliba and Kivior centre half, Ben White right back, and I'd still play Tierney left back, even though it's probably going to be Lewis-Skelly. But even if Lewis-Skelly starts, I don't want to see him get 90 minutes. I think nothing to do with his ability. I just think we need to be a bit cute and clever, man.
See, against Everton, I don't care if Partey's right back. I don't particularly like it. I don't think we're going to win the game if he plays there, but I'd rather him play there than against Real Madrid. If Ben White and Timber are 100% fit to play both Everton and Real Madrid, I'd play them in both, but I don't think they are 100% fit to play in both, right? So I think we need to be careful. Look, I'm okay with Partey, Saliba, Kivior, and Miles Lewis-Skelly against Everton, if that's what you want to do, right? I would personally play Kieran Tierney, but I think that's the back four that we'll go with, right? Against Real Madrid, I really don't want to see Kivior playing there. And I hope that Timber and Saliba both go centre-back and then Ben White at right-back, because I prefer Timber as a centre-back than I do Ben White. Miles Lewis-Skelly, I think, probably deserves to play, and I think it would be incredibly harsh to drop him against Real Madrid for how good he's been for club and country in the last, 8 to 10 weeks. So that's where I'm at. I then believe that it keeps Partey in midfield, which is what we need. Rice, as much as I don't like him in the 8, I think I'll be asked to drop more in a double pivot and allow Odegaard to become more central as opposed to just stick to the right. And then obviously the front three for me against Real Madrid, I'd actually play Martinelli on the left, Saka on the right, and I'd put Ethan through the middle. And I'd allow them to interchange. So Ethan goes towards the left, Martinelli through the middle, Saka, obviously, if he wants to switch on the left and Ethan go right, something like that. Make it a little bit difficult for Real Madrid. So that's where I'm at. It's good news that Ben White and Timber's fit, or potentially fit, but how fit are they, bruv? That's my question.
This is the question.
What I don't want to do is throw them both in, and then they're both out for Tuesday night. It would be a massive risk, bro, wouldn't it?
Like you said there, man, and it's scaring me. This is where I'm happy I'm not Mikel Arteta, because Timber right back, how fit is he? White right back, how fit is he? If one plays right back and one's centre half, what happens? If one's available and one's not? If we put Partey right back, what happens? It's kind of exciting and very scary at the same time, because, you know, I think every Arsenal fan is at that point, whether we're angry about the summer and the missed opportunity and this and that. Pardon my language. I'm just at fuck it mode now, you know, like fuck it, like it is where it is now. Like fuck it now, let's just go for it, man. Like even Kivior, I've got no faith in you. But if I look at it, if I've got no faith in you now, what is the worst that can happen? You have a poor game. I believe in you. I believe in you the same way before the game, after it. Just be a bit fearless, man. And also, you've played football, Dan, man. Like if Kivior is out there, you know your teammates in it. Protect him as much as you can. Because if you're Real Madrid, the one thing with Kivior above everything, there's not enough personality out there. He's not brave enough, respectfully to him, and they're gonna smell that. So, F it, man. F it, bro. Like, F it, man. It's
I mean, look,
scary.
there's another thing that could happen if Ben White and Timber are both fit. Is you could play a three at the back and then allow Timber and Tierney to be that kind of Miles Lewis-Skelly to be the kind of left wing backs and have Tierney, Kivior, and Saliba, or Tierney, Ben White, and Saliba. There's other options we can do if these players are back fit, but I just don't know how fit they are. If both Ben White and Timber are both fit, who would you rather play at right back and centre back? Would you agree that you'd rather play Timber at centre back and White right back, or would you keep Timber at right back and play Benjamin White at centre back?
Assuming there's no who was we assuming Kivior's not going to start, right? So
yeah,
I'd put Ben White centre half, you know, just because I'm actually not against Ben. Like, me and Jess had this debate about Timber left, but obviously before all of this about Timber left back and Benjamin White. I'd probably put Ben White centre half, just because I think Timber's going to be a bit more stronger 1v1 against a big test of Vinicius. Like, either one could still get ripped, but I'd go Timber right back, man. But even if you start like that, there's going to be a point where, has White got 90 minutes? Bearing in mind, we have to also think about the second leg. Like, White might have to go right back. Timber might have to come off. Timber might have to come off and Partey goes right back. This is where it goes back to what we're saying at the start, in that if we're in this situation next year, we need a bigger squad, bro.
Facts. And that's a nice segue. A very nice segue to what we're going to talk about next, because there's a lot of movement. Since the appointment of Andrea Berta, it looks as if there's a lot of transfer news at the moment in relation to players that are linked with Arsenal. Now, it isn't just Arsenal that players are linked with. Of course, there's a lot of suggestions that there's going to be quite a big summer for many. Some of which are saying there's going to be a rebuild. Some of which are saying there's going to be an opportunity to see what Manchester City are going to do now that De Bruyne is leaving. Liverpool are looking at Salah and Trent's situation, as well as Van Dijk. And there's kind of scenarios that Liverpool will be looking to go big in the summer. Arsenal, now that they've appointed Andrea Berta, are looking to go pretty big from what we hear. And there's a lot of rumours, bro. So let's talk some of them. The names ain't really changed, bruv, if I'm honest with you. I can't lie. The names are all pretty much the same names that we've been linked with from the majority of the January transfer window. However, some of them are a little bit different. David Ornstein from The Athletic has apparently spoke about Nico Williams, and he said that Arsenal's long-running pursuit of Nico Williams based on Arteta's desire to sign him is well documented. A recruit in that position has been on the agenda for some time, and it remains the case. Clearly, it seems like Arsenal will try again, but this is a highly challenging deal to do, and therefore there's no guarantee that it happens. Williams is expected to be more open to a move in the summer of 2025 than previously. So David Ornstein's kind of pouring a little bit of cold water over the Nico Williams rumour again. Do you think this is a deal that will potentially happen, or do you think that we might have to move on to someone else if he is not interested? Like, would you genuinely believe he's not interested and wants to stay in Spain, bruv?
It's a difficult one, man, because adding on to that, I'm sure there was reports either yesterday or the day before that Berta's met with his agent and whatnot. Now, everybody meets with everybody in it, so I don't know what you want to take from that. Of course, it's encouraging if Mikel Arteta wants to play her, and I'm sure Berta, you know, obviously having 12 years at Atletico Madrid, he's either well aware of Nico Williams or he's got people that whose opinions he trusts, that he can obviously get opinions from to see how good he is. Clearly, we need a left winger. I do think he's still a bit of hot and cold, and there's an element of rawness, but I've seen enough to say bring him in. You kind of said it there in the question, in that everyone's going to be interested in him. Like, we're not going to have a free run at everything. And what I want from Berta to do, and I know he will do it because he's isolated from the question marks we've had, by all means, if Nico Williams is your guy, go and get him. But if you don't get him, bearing in mind everyone's there, I don't know who the next option is, but pivot. Because again, we tried powder dry, no players that can improve us. These things can't be said next season. So bring Williams in. I mean, I don't know if he wants to sign for us, if he's going to wait it out and see if there's interest from a team he was linked with in Barcelona. Of course, you know, Berta's going to have to try and flush some players out and get a hold of the wages in the next year. And he's going to cost his release clause, which I don't think we're going to pay up front. He's on like 200 grand a week anyways at the moment. You're not going to take a wage cut realistically going to Arsenal, being in London, and at 22, they're probably trying to get you to sign a 4 or 5 year deal. So I'm on it. Hope we get it. But as we always say, Dan, until he's holding the shirt saying I grew up watching Perez and all them players, how far does it go, man?
Is there a left winger that you look at that you think would potentially be a better option than Nico Williams? Is there anyone in the Premier League, like maybe a Matoma, or maybe you look elsewhere at Lookman, or you think there's another player out there in the European leagues that could come and do a better job than Nico Williams? Or would you be quite happy with the signing if it happens?
I'd be happy with Nico Williams, I'd really be happy with Nico Williams, man. I can't lie to you. I think that I've seen enough of him to think there's a player in there. I'd rather Mikel Arteta work with them kind of players than the Kai Havertz's, then the Sterlings, then well, we could have done with him in January, but a Marcus Rashford. I wouldn't be against it. I mean, in terms of a like for like left winger, like I more think if we can't get Nico Williams, can we just get another versatile attacker that could do a job there? That is a Semenyo, that is an Embuemo, that is a Kudus, obviously stronger in other areas. I just want someone that's going to share the burden that Saka has. Of course, I would love someone on the left-hand side that does what Saka does, but we need at least 50%. Because me and you both know if Saka's not getting the goals, we're in trouble. Whatever we say about Kai Havertz, which is testament to him and probably question marks about the club, he's one of our top goal scorers. And as much as I'm criticizing Martinelli and Trossard, you look statistically, them lot and Merino are up there for goals. Like goals win games, whatever way we shape it. So we need that, man. We need that.
Yeah, we do. Reports suggesting that Nico Williams, if he does come to Arsenal, will probably expect to be placed in the same wage bracket as the Odegaards, Havertz, Rice and Sakas. They're all running around 250k a week in order to join Arsenal. I'd expect that, though. Like, if he's coming in as a Euros winner with Spain, he's a youngster, he's a high kind of target for clubs. Chelsea apparently looking at him as well. I'd expect we'd have to probably put him on 250, not 150, DG. Do you know what I mean?
100%. Like, why would you take less wages? You got to remember, this is a job. If you're moving to quote unquote a bigger club than Bilbao, a stronger league where, let's have it right, whether it's the clubs and their owners or the TV rights, the Premier League is getting richer and richer. These men are not. It's business, in it. They're going to try and get you on a 4 or 5 year deal, regardless of where you're going. So why would you want to take less money? And then obviously, if you're his agent, you're aware of how much Kai Havertz, Gabriel Jesus, these men are being paid. You're going to say my client deserves that. If you're and then that's what we need to look at, because I don't know how much Gyokeres is on now and how much he will get if we do sign him. Obviously, we're discussing Nico Williams. We know the players that we can and can't move on and the money they're on, and we know the big three who need new deals. So it's going to be a test in one of Arsenal's resources, and it's one where not just Berta, but Berta, Arteta, the whole team are going to have to get this summer right. Now, I feel like me and you have said the same things we're saying now last summer, but they actually have to deliver. Like, I'm not expecting radical changes and everybody comes in and everyone goes out, but the core bulk of business needs to be done, or we're going to have a season just like this year or the years before, which I'd prefer in comparison to this year, to be fair. So madness.
Facts, bro. Look, there's been talk on Arsenal bringing in players, but there's also a lot of talk, a bit of a mass exodus and a rebuild at Arsenal. And there's suggestions that could be starting this summer. There's a long list of players that are on this list here of suggestions of players who might be leaving Arsenal. And there could be as many as 11. Zinchenko, Kivior, Partey, Jorginho, Tierney, Tavares, Lokonga, Nelson, Vieira, Trossard, Tomiyasu, Sterling, and Neto. Now, Sterling and Neto obviously leaving on their loan. Partey and Jorginho are done with their contracts. Zinchenko's out of favour, as is Kivior. Jorginho, we've mentioned leaving. Tierney, definitely, again, another one that looks like he's going to Celtic, end of contract. Tavares is going to be going to Lazio with an obligation. Lokonga even, I think, is an option with Seville, but it could be an obligation. Nelson is a tough one because he's injured and he's on 100k a week. Fabi Vieira, likewise, we're going to have to take a hit on. Trossard, we're going to have to take what we can because he's got 1 year left and he doesn't want to sign. Tomiyasu is injury prone, and Sterling and Neto will be gone. So there's a lot of players leaving there, DG. Do you see any of those players that you might want to hold on to? There's only Partey for me that I'd give a 1 year extension to. The others, I think I'd be happy to let go.
It's a techie one because some we might want to let leave and we might not get the offers we want. Sometimes we might accept offers, and whether it's because of wages or whatever, they don't move on. Half of these players for the last couple of years now have been linked with moves away, and being linked with moves away and actually concrete offers are one thing. And also, like, what if, I'm not saying this right, but what if you're Zinchenko and you're looking, and some Arsenal fans would say there is a case for another left back. What if you think you can regain that? You're obviously on big money. You're comfortable at the club. It's more of a case of the club need to sell you than you need to move on. We need to get rid of them. But how much of an element of it is we can't buy before we can sell, and we got to sell before we can buy. But that list, I mean, Zinni's got a year left on his deal. He's on 150 grand. I'd imagine we bring in another left back. So I'd say Zinchenko's gone. Kivior, I think for him, he probably needs to go and play football at this point, but he's always linked with moves away. Has there ever been offers? As you said yourself, Partey, Jorginho, Tierney, they're all gone on paper like Sterling and Neto for a variety of reasons. Fabio Vieira will be an interesting one. Like, will he go back on loan at Porto? Will by default he stay at least until January and be a squad player? Lokonga's like Trossard. Lokonga's got a year left on his deal. He's actually still talking in interviews and says he wants to stay at Sevilla. Nelson's injured. He's on 100 grand. I don't know if we're able to move him on, but you'd imagine that. Trossard, is it because of the contract? And like, are you going to let Trossard go before, you bring in a left winger? Are you going to keep Trossard when the summer closes, potentially to get him to sign a new deal? If there is offers from Saudi, you've got a decision to make. Tomiyasu ain't going nowhere because the man ain't fit. And I love the guy, but at the end of the day, he's played 6 minutes in the Premier League. That is a decision to be made. So it's all fun and games making a case of these players to go. And some of them are going, but Berta's going to have to really earn his money, man, because we're not exactly best at selling, man.
Nah, facts, bro. And I'm in a scenario where I'm quite happy to see the majority of them leave. I feel like
Exactly.
it is rebuild time. Like, a lot of people say it's not a rebuild, but it kind of is, because when we're looking at 11 to 15 players that could be naturally leaving through natural wastage or being sold, or their contracts are done, that's a rebuild. It doesn't mean we're rebuilding 25 players. It means that we need to be looking now at who is coming in from the 11 players that are going out. How many of those do we need to add in? We're probably looking at least 6 faces that need to come in, to be honest with you.
As a minimum, yeah.
As a minimum, yeah, for sure, bro. So that one's going to be interesting. Ornstein's spoken about the need for Arsenal, if Kivior was to be leaving, or Zinchenko or Tierney, that we might actually bring somebody in. Defenders again, DG. David Ornstein says from The Athletic, I could also see a centre-back arriving at the Arsenal if there's a departure. The obvious name that springs to mind is Kivior, but we've been here before. He generates interest, especially from Italy, but so far nothing has come to fruition. Tierney and potentially Zinchenko leaving would theoretically create space to strengthen at left-back, but the presence of Calafiori and Lewis-Skelly means that this is by no means certain. I actually think we need to look more at the right-hand side of defence in terms of a Saliba cover than we do a left-back. But let me know your thoughts on the defence, because if we don't sign anybody and we let those players go, do we actually have enough with Ben White and Timber at right-back, Calafiori and Skelly at left-back, and then obviously Saliba and Gabriel at centre-back, with maybe Timber and White covering and Calafiori covering as the kind of centre-backs position, with Tomiyasu yet to come back as well? What are you telling me?
I think we need another defender. It's on brand. If Arsenal, in the last few years, if we're not signing goalies and defenders, then we're not having a summer window. I think whether it's an upgrade on Kivior, whether it's a more long-term option, I think there's a lot of moving parts defensively. Ideally, I would like somebody on paper like Tomiyasu or Timber, because they can play all across the back four. I think we need a defender. I think this season has raised at points. When it's more been Saliba has been the talking point. We need another centre half there. Clearly, with Timber picking up knocks, we need something. I think on the left-hand side with Magalhaes as well. So I'm on us signing another defender. I think the core business has to be a central midfielder, a striker, and a left winger. But I do think we could do with a couple of signings, or one as a minimum defensively, man. And it's all about having a bigger squad. Obviously, there's a debate around quality and quantity, and they kind of overlap, but we do need a bigger squad, man. So this is the one window I wouldn't be critical about us signing defenders. And so far with Calafiori, a bit like Tomiyasu, we bought another defender, and they're just injury prone at this moment. So we are going to probably need one, man. I definitely feel we need to sign a defender of some sorts.
Yeah, I think that we do as well. And if I'm honest with you, I'm not sure if we will. Evan Ndika was being mentioned yesterday as someone from Roma that could come in and be a backup at £30 million. I think that would be good. Joel Harto's been mentioned as well, but I think he's probably Liverpool that want him, and Gyokeres is another one that Liverpool want, which I think would be a phenomenal signing for anyone, to be honest. So defense is not one that excites me, but I think it might be needed if we do sell 3 or 4 players. You can't be selling 3 or 4 and not bringing anybody in. I think that leaves us completely short. We've already spoken
just like last summer. We have to learn.
Exactly. We've got to learn from our mistakes, bro. 100%. I'm absolutely with you. Let's move to a position that we absolutely want to be discussing, and that is, of course, the striker situation. Now, I'm a massive fan of Victor Gyokeres, and I've spoken about him some time now, and it looks like for the first time we're being heavily linked with him for the last few days. This came out overnight. Arsenal have been granted permission from Sporting to explore personal terms with Victor Gyokeres and his representatives. Arsenal were laying extensive groundwork on a deal as Berta wants the club to have multiple options to choose from this summer. Now, it looks like Berta is the guy who's definitely pushing this one. And it's interesting that we haven't actually seen us linked with Sesko as much since Berta's been appointed. It looks like all of our targets are now, or all of our kind of energy is now towards Victor Gyokeres. And it does come out here to say that Graham Paley suggests that Gyokeres representatives have been very impressed after talks with Arsenal. They're very happy with what they've heard after Arsenal have stepped up their interest in the striker. This could happen, DG, and I hope it does, bruv. If Isak is not available and unobtainable, this is next on my list, bruv. What are you telling me?
Wonder, bring him, like, and that would be encouraging for me, because I do think as Arsenal fans, yeah, you can never stop planning for the future and future-proofing the team and stars of tomorrow. But I do think we always get caught in that trap. Not that I'm saying Gyokeres is old. What that would be impressive for me, because he's 26. It's kind of like you got to do it now. It's not like a Sesko, who I'm not against signing, where you've got to develop and whatnot. I'm happy to hear, and again, Berta's never said this himself, but it seems like that's a Berta-driven one. We've seen, apparently, you know, the agent's friends with Mikel Arteta. Berta's a big fan of him, dating back to his Atletico Madrid days. Make it happen. I think in the previous thing you showed, it's interesting that apparently Berta wants us to have multiple options. Now, I either take that as, you know, I'm sure there's been many players that have agreed deals with several clubs. They tell one club, I'm going to sign, and then they don't, and they go elsewhere. And we need the ability to pivot. But it does seem like there's different camps. Like, there was an article that said, you know, the club, going back to Edu's time, is the one driving the Sesko's thing. You can tell with the recruitment why that would be a thing. Isak is clearly the impossible dream, and I'm sure there's small hope internally that maybe you could get Isak. And Gyokeres is a good option, man. I know there'll be question marks. Can he do it, you know, in the top league? He's been in the Portuguese league. All the top strikers in the Portuguese league hasn't done it. He scored a lot of penalties, this, that, and the other. I like him, man, because I think he's in win now mode. I think he'll be hungry, depending on if he signs for Arsenal or elsewhere, to prove people wrong. And he ain't got time to waste. 26 isn't old, but it isn't young. You're ready right now. And what I like is, clearly Mikel Arteta, we all know what Mikel Arteta wants from a striker. Clearly there's a belief that he knows how to do that and he's ready to deliver now. It's not really a training kind of thing. Bring Gyokeres, man. I've said this on your channel before. I'm at the point whether it's Gyokeres, Isak, Sesko. I just want to forward and we'll deal with the talking points. But I like Gyokeres. I'm convinced he'll do well for a club. Him, Saka, and a Nico Williams and a Martinelli and Trossard potentially in the squad. And if Kai Havertz is a squad player and he can get those numbers he's been doing, then ultimately we score more goals. We turn defeats into draws into victory, and maybe more going off last season. Maybe you get over the line and we're finally that team that's on the right side of the small margins our club like to speak on, man.
Listen, I'm a huge fan of the players that we're being linked with in the last couple of weeks, I would say. We've been linked with a lot of players, man, and if I'm honest with you, it's looking like
been linked with Anthony as well.
Have we really?
Yeah. We have. It's clearly just clickbait, but it made me laugh. Like, no way are we signing Anthony, man. That would have been crazy.
Nah, there's no way. That would kill me if we got somebody like that in. That's just not going the right direction. But look, Zubimendi's another one that's been spoken of. A lot of people have spoken about how Ornstein and Sami Mokbel have both said that it looks like he's coming to Arsenal and it would be a really good signing, and terms have agreed, and it looks like, you know, the start of the summer is going to be Zubimendi. However, there's reports suggesting that Zubimendi would prefer to join Real Madrid this summer, but recognises that Arsenal are making more effort to sign him. What do you make of this? I mean, obviously the rumours are not rumours; they're nothing set in stone. But Sami Mokbel and David Ornstein were quite confident that Arsenal could get the job done, and it looked like Zubimendi and his team had agreed to come to Arsenal this summer. Do you believe that? And are you worried that if it's the case of Real Madrid coming sniffing around, that he might go there?
I mean, it's like a woman that has two options. You've got the man I want, like if that was a woman, like she's got the man that she wants, but he's not doing the right things. And then in Arsenal's case, the man that's doing the right things, but the one she doesn't necessarily want. Who is going to say no to Real Madrid? Especially if Xabi Alonso rocks up there either next summer or the summer before. It's Real Madrid. You stay in Spain. It's Real Madrid. They win stuff. It makes sense. I'm sure he appreciates Arsenal because we've been linked with him for years. I mean, when you hear these hijack things, they could be real, but we've also seen times where a player is almost inches away from signing for a football club, and then the hijack rumors kind of come out. So I'm not too sure. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors. And as we've been saying, until a man signs for us and is holding shirts and talking about Adams and Bergkamp and Henry, nothing's set in stone of any player. But then with Zubimendi, 1 minute you're coming to Arsenal, then you're going to Liverpool, then you're doing this, and then you're having a change of heart. If he's the one that they want, great. But for me, just like with Gyokeres, just like with Nico Williams, just like with Zubimendi, Go by all means, pour all your efforts into getting them. But these guys are all wanted by everyone. We can't get them all. If you cannot get them all, please make sure you pivot, because we need that long-term partner for Declan Rice. If Declan Rice is going to stay as an 8, me and you can have conversations around that. But he doesn't, since he signed for this club. Who's been his long-term partner? We all know Partey and him is the ones, but we've seen Jorginho, we've seen Fabio Vieira, we've seen Smith Rowe. We need to start answering these questions now, man, if I'm honest.
We really do. We really do. And if I'm honest, I need to see a summer that the window shuts and I'm talking to you on here or on your channel
And
talking
we're
about.
bullish.
Yeah, and we're going confidence, bruv. We can win the Champions League. We can win the Premier League. This is a squad that we've got. And I think we're going to be 6 or 7 players away from that, man, at the moment. So let's hope we get quite a few of them in. The last one I want to do just before we do come to a close is this one that's literally about 1 minute ago that's just come out in relation to a player that I've liked for some time, if I'm honest with you, for the last couple of seasons. Eze.
Oh.
Apparently, Arsenal and Liverpool both competing to sign Eberechi Eze, who would be available for 60 million due to a release clause in his Palace contract. Look, caught offside, whether you believe that's a reliable source or not, I'm not going to say that. I remain impartial, but obviously he's a player that I would like and have liked for some time. I think can play in the left 8 and the 10 and probably wide areas as well. Would you think this would be a good signing for Arsenal?
I'm like you, Dan, man. You want to remain impartial. Rumors and what's going on in reality are two different things. But him being a former Arsenal player, him being an English international, him being relatively prem proven, his versatility, starmanship, bring him. I do think it's interesting, though, where you look at Gyokeres, Eze, Zubamendi, that Garcia lad, Nico Williams, and there's defo somebody else. They all have release clauses in their contracts. Now, it's very naive if we all assume Arsenal are just going to drop the 50 million, 60 million in his case, whatever, on all of these players and get them. I'm not an accountant, but that's not going to work. Are we operating like this because we know the ballpark figure? We'll go to these clubs and say, you know what, we'll pay in and around that, maybe a bit more if you allow us to stagger the payments in the right way and we can be flexible. But like you said there, man, the man can play on the left, he can play in the 8, he can play in the 10. Bring that, make that happen. And again, he's I always think Eze is a lot younger than I give him credit for. He's what, maybe 25, 26. So it's kind of, you're ready to deliver right now. You're right, you're prem ready and whatnot. So bring that, man. We're not gonna get Verts and Musiala and all them guys. And I'm not suggesting he's similar, but we need that, man. And I always think ballers play well with ballers. Not to say other players need anything to unlock them, but could you imagine if you're Saka, there's Eze there, there's Gyokeres, there's Nico Williams, there's Zubamendi or players of this ilk and the existing teammates. You're gonna cook. Like, there's more movement. Maybe we can break down low blocks and whatnot. Yeah, man. I'm liking the links, like you said, Dan. But again, they're just links, though, man. Like, we need to see players coming in. Like,
yeah,
it'd be nice, though.
Would be nice, and I can appreciate that there's rumors, but all I do is share it. It's only info. We got to talk about it, innit? Do you know what?
Exactly.
To close, I'm gonna ask you a bit of a quick fire thing, man, or a little bit of a would you rather, right? And let's just dream for a second that we're in the summer and we're going for these players. I'm gonna give you a couple of would you rather's. So, would you rather sign Victor Gyokeres or Sesko, bro?
Gyokeres, right? Okay. Win right now mode.
Yeah, facts. Would you rather sign Lookman or Williams?
I'm a big fan of Lookman, you know. Williams.
Okay. Would you rather sign Zubamendi or Adam Wharton?
Zubamendi, but I love Adam Wharton, man. They're going to play hardball. Zubamendi.
And would you rather sign Eze or Cunha?
Oh. See, I'm more of an Eze fan, but the Brazil bias will come. Eze, I think he kind of fits in a bit more. Like with Cunha, you can play off. Well, to be honest, you can say this all about Eze, but Cunha can play, you know, as a false 9. He can play in the Odegaard role. He can play off the left. But then, where would he be best? Or where would he get the most game time? Be off the left? Is that his best position? I'm not sure. I think Eze is more suited to a kind of long career on the left hand side, if anything. But yeah, Eze, just that's probably the toughest question. I feel like I'm doing Cunha a disservice, man.
It is tough, man. The Gyokeres one's easy, and then it gets harder after that. So for me, I'm glad we're not linked with the Sesko thing anymore. I ain't ruling that out, by the way, because I think Arteta does like him. But Gyokeres looks like the one favourite to come in. Nico Williams is the left winger we're linked with favourite, and then I think there's been both links to Cunha and Eze, to be fair. Zubamendi, obviously, as well. Adam Wharton, we haven't been linked with of late, but we did get linked with him towards the January window. So I think it's going to be a big summer.
100 million for him.
Really? My word.
Naturally, if you got a half decent player, you don't really want to sell them, and everyone in the Premier League's got money. So this 100 million is the thing you're gonna do now, isn't it?
We ain't getting him for 100. We ain't going to put in 100 million for him. Trust me. He's a good player,
Yeah,
though. I really like him a lot. I think he's
quality.
going to be a top player. I think he's going to go to the very top, if I'm honest, in that position. I think
Just need
it's
to
a
stay
player
fit.
that's, yeah, there ain't many players in that position either for England, is there? You've got Rice and Wharton, and that's about it, really. The others are a little bit more box to box, or they kind of sit there like Kobe Minu or Angel Gomez or whoever they've been playing in the last few months. So, yeah, it's be interesting where he goes if he stays at Palace. Palace have got a really good side, by the way. When you look at the players you take from Palace, you go through most of their departments. You go, yeah, I probably would take them either in your squad or to
Find good little
start.
gems in the Championship, and then obviously
Yeah,
like Elise,
man.
he's gone on to
Even
buying
that
them.
Romain essay from Millwall, they got Eze,
Millwall,
they
yeah,
had Elise before, they got from there. Mateta's been a good signing. That
been
Maxon
quality for them.
Sapar is quality, mate. Him alongside
Sure,
Gyokeres,
he's going to be sold for
you
big,
know,
big money when
yeah,
the time
and
comes.
Morton we mentioned. But I now like Daniel Munoz and Tyreek Mitchell as well as fullbacks. I think Palace have got a very good side, man. Very, very good side. So, yeah, be interesting. But listen, DG, what you got coming up, bro? Let them know where they can find you.
Thanks for having me, Dan. It's always a pleasure. Probably like an hour or so, I'm going to go live and go over Mikel Arteta's talking points in the press conference and kind of what we covered here. Tomorrow, obviously, we're doing a watch along for Everton versus Arsenal. And yeah, man, if you like what I have to say and you're subscribed, just turn on your notification bells. There's always content, man. That's what I got.
Yeah, love, man. Come on, let's go and show Deluded some love. He's always live. He's always chatting Arsenal. So if you love talk
Appreciate it.
of Arsenal, then go show him some love, man. This is going to redirect you to a gal where I'm going to be jumping on with him, talking all things Arsenal. So make sure you join us over there at 2:30. And yeah, we'll be live over there at 2:30. And then I shall be probably live over the weekend for Arsenal Everton. So we'll see you next time, people. We're out of here. Laters.
Peace.